Now, the reason it's taken me so long to get this review up is I honestly couldn't decide whether. Well, I walked out of the theater thinking, should I give this thing 11 rating? I walked out of the theater liking that, but when I went back to watch it a second time, I did find flaws, and unfortunately, no, this will not get the first 11 out of 11 rating in the first year. It looks like I won't be giving 11 out of 11 rating away in the first year of CinematicCritic.com. They're very hard to come by, and this one has been the closest to it. But it will get a 10, and it was a great movie overall. Ultimately, it also came down to, this isn't a movie I'll buy because I'm just not interested, but it is a phenomenal movie, and I'm sure it'll be great for some people, and here's why. Well, for starters, it was phenomenal picture. That's all the movie's doing. I'm sure of it. Although, that said, I was watching it on a digital projector. I say here, this movie may be poised to take 11 out of 11, and it was, but it just couldn't. There were imperfections, and you really got to be perfect to get the 11 there. The ending, for example, it didn't have all that much closure. That's honestly, if they had added a little something something at the end, it would have had an 11. But it's a great intro. Then 5 minutes in, debris from a blown up Russian satellite, purposely, it was an old satellite, I guess, is blown up. They get hit. Upon detachment of the Hubble telescope, Dr. Ryan Stone, played by Sandra Bullock, of course, contacts Commander Matt Kowalski, played by George Clooney. Once they're coupled together, they find the other person, Mission Specialist Sheriff, but this is going to be about two people. He was hit by debris in the head and is dead. Everyone on the Explorer is killed too, as well as the people on the International Space Station. Their goal is set now. Get to the ISS, International Space Station, and Bombshell, her daughter, died at age 4 from a head injury. She fell while running on concrete. This is a little backstory about Sandra's character, about Dr. Ryan Stone, as they're on their way over during their conversation. They try to attach to the ISS when they feel, and it really is a spectacular sequence of them like floating all around, trying to grab on, and ultimately they fail. And when they do, Matt detaches himself and orders she get on it, and he's the commanding officer. He orders to use the escape pod Sias-2. It's too damaged to enter Earth, but Ryan can use it to get to the Chinese space station. She says she'll save him too, but he orders her not to. So will she? Well, on the ISS, she fails to make contact with him or NASA. We're only halfway through, but let's start the spoilers here. After I ask, is Mac coming back? Is she going to be able to save him? But that's a biggie, so now let me just say, earlier, as she was floating through the ISS, there was some droplets of water floating about. And there were electrical sparks of the same size. After she tries to contact NASA or Matt, a fire occurs. Kind of a spoiler there. And as I thought, when she tries to escape, that darn deployed parachute almost causes her to crash. So she now has to detach it somehow. So we've hit the halfway point, so I'm going to hold off on the spoilers for now. Just know that this movie wasn't perfect, so it gets a 10 out of 11. Before she can detach the parachute, more spoilers now. Debris is hurtled at her, and as the ISS, International Space Station, is torn into small metallic shreds, all just floating in space. She gets back in the pod. The chute is now torn off in the incident. It's time to go to the Chinese station, but the pod isn't working. It's out of fuel. Well, one bad break after another. And no, now that we're in the spoiler section, she does not go save Kowalski. But Kowalski will still somehow come into play. And that's what saved this thing from a 9 rating. Somehow she gets in contact with someone from Earth, but she's losing it. She starts howling like the dog in the background that she hears. I still don't quite understand how she can get something in Earth. That was one of the other small imperfections. But she's talking to someone from Earth supposedly. She starts howling like the dog in the background. Then the man starts singing, and how did she get with this guy? Then she hears a baby in the background. That's who he's singing to. And suddenly she's not losing it. But I am trying to understand this. But she is losing air. Cue Matt to come back into play at the last second, in the form of a dream. That's just awesome. And that's, like I said, what made it a 10 o'clock, that's 10 rating. Now I know he isn't coming back. And that's a bold move, so it earned points in my eyes. And using him in a vision, like Pete Parker and Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, or Ben Kenobi and Luke in the final Star Wars Episode 6. It was a good way to keep his character in play in some way, yet also have him die. It was great. Very well thought out. With a fully functional Chinese space station nearby, she finally tries for it. It's hard because the space station's so close to the atmosphere and is breaking. Plus, debris is on its way again. Once in that station, she gets to a pod. In that pod, the station burns into pieces, but after a quick dialogue, at the last second she undocks. It's a successful splashdown, but now she has to escape the submerged pod. That lasts about 1 minute. Again, success. She swims in the lake, watching the rest of the debris fall down. It feels like a new beginning, which I guess you could say it is. It ends here like Avatar, though. And honestly, for Avatar that worked. But the more and more I think about it, I don't think ending it for a movie like this would work. Still, are you sure James Cameron didn't direct this movie? I say here because it's getting the first 11 since starting CinematicCritic.com. 2 people in the theater didn't like it, of 80. Inception, Gravatar, Welcome Gravity to the list of 11s. Unfortunately not after reconsidering, but ooh, you were so close. Even closer than Wreck-It Ralph was. And still a phenomenal movie. Maybe I'll buy it when the price comes down.